Project Veritas just exposed human trafficking, and by just exposed human trafficking, I mean last week they exposed human trafficking, but here I am going to give my uncensored, unfiltered opinion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the sort of stuff that's going through. But because I highly encourage that people support independent media outlets and acts of journalism from institutions such as Project Veritas, I'm going to do as little commentary as possible because honestly, this stuff speaks for itself, and people need to be encouraged to support Project Veritas and all the great work they do. But anyway, let's jump into it. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services whistleblower reveals tax dollars spent to put children in the hands of criminals, says government complicit. We don't get sued by traffickers. Migrant child by female sponsor, quote, would pimp me to men. Charlie Rodas, well, I'm not going to do the bullet points. There's the video. If you want to watch it, if you see it on screen, click up a link down below in the description as always. But anyway, the quote, I'm just going to quote from the article. I'm going to read it. Anyway, let's go. The whistleblower Charlie Rodas volunteered to assist the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HSS, with the processing of unaccompanied migrant children and was deployed to the emergency intake site in Pomona, California. Rodas sat down with Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe and described how precarious she believes the current child sponsorship program is for these minors. Quote, tax dollars of people who are listening are paying to put children in the hands of criminals. Our sponsors typically are not citizens. They're not permanent residents. They don't have a legal presence. The sponsor can hold up an order of deportation to a migrant child and say, "This is your order of deportation. If you don't do what I say, when I say I'm going to tell ICE on you myself. We are paying to put children in the hands of criminals." The whistleblower affirmed that she has questioned federal government bureaucrats about the potential wrongdoing happening within their institutions, and the response has usually been dismissive of her concerns. She believes she has suffered retaliation at work for raising these issues. Quote, I said we are getting ready to send another child, and they said, Tara, I think you need to understand that we only get sued if we are keeping kids in care too long. We don't get sued by traffickers. Are you clear? We don't get sued by traffickers. So that was the answer. The United States federal government, HSS, did not want this information to get out, Rodas said. Quote, they knew I had made protected disclosures and they retaliated against me as a whistleblower and had me kicked off the site so I can no longer research the cases, she said. As a result of Rodas stepping forward, Project Veritas journalists visited several physical addresses provided by the whistleblower in order to interview individuals and investigate whether the trafficking was taking place. A Veritas journalist spoke to a migrant female minor on one of these occasions who revealed that she had been put through sexual abuse by her sponsor. Quote, my aunt sponsored me, but she tricked me out of her house. She was pimping me and I didn't like that. She would pimp me to men, said the child. I just escaped one night, I told her. I'm going to the laundromat. She aunt went to the laundromat and didn't find me there. Later on, she called immigration. Project Veritas will be releasing more information throughout the week, and here's the more information revealed throughout the week. Traffickers exploiting illegal child labor with Social Security fraud, underage migrant, quote, I started working to pay cartel debt. I cannot work legally here. Let's do the exact same thing that we did. And by the way, this is exactly why I do not care about the Kanye thing in the previous report that I did. I do not care about the Kanye West thing. This is 1,000 times more important. The federal government, with your tax dollars, my tax dollars, is facilitating a countrywide child trafficking ring. This is not okay. But anyway, quote, when I got here to the United States, I began studying and then working. I went to school for 6 months from a year ago and began working I go in to work at 4 p.m. and get out at 2 a.m., an underage female migrant said. Frender, who is a male migrant, said, quote, he cannot work legally in the United States, but since he is forced to pay $150 for a small piece of paper that you get to be able to apply for jobs, a social security card, he has been able to work. Quote, you just call the person and he comes to your home and brings it, a fake social security card, Frander explained. Another underage male migrant even stated that immigrants go to work wherever they take you, referring to the cartels and traffickers. Charlie Rodas, the whistleblower who approached Project Veritas from within the federal government to expose all of this, said she was horrified by what was taking place. Quote, I think most people believe, and I originally thought, that sponsors were families because HSS says, quote, we're reuniting children with their families. In fact, that's not the case, Rodas said. This is a terrible thing, and then you look into some of these cases who are teenagers who've never been to school, can't read, can't write, and it's a very wicked thing to take advantage of children, she said. Again, always support the original author. Okay, I always try to support independent individual journalism wherever I can. If you see it on screen, click up a link down below in the description. Support the original work, and if you want me to cover any topic into a future Trip Report, okay, go to my with Koji, where you could send me anonymous messages absolutely free. In the meantime, news around, just watch the report. Click the link tree down below in the description.